Hey y'all, Muddy Paws Disc Golf here. Last week we headed up to Mayflower Hills Disc Golf Course, the #1 U-Disc rated course in Virginia. And the layout we played was the white tees to the yellow baskets. This is what intermediates and MA40s would play for the first round of the tournament. Hole 1 is a par 4. Just first shot is just chuck it over the hill. Matt executes it perfectly here.
Wow.
And then you're going down into those trees. Mine didn't really flip back the way I wanted it to. And Dad gets a good release and a good amount of float.
Nice shot.
I just lay up here.
Park.
Dad'll sink his long putt. Matt sinks his as well, so they will both go to 1 down, and I will stay at even after the first hole. Hole 2 is a monstrous par 5. Just super long, throw it as far as you can on the first and probably the second shots for people like us without a ton of distance. I opt to stay a little closer to the middle here instead of going out over that uncut grass.
Be much nicer from there.
I just lofted it a little too high here.
Oh, turn. Oh well.
Can't make the jump. Matt can't make his birdie look. Dad taps in for birdie. Matt hits a par, and I hit a par, leaving me at even, Matt at 1 down, and Dad at 2 down. Hole 3 is one of the more forgiving holes on the course. It's pretty much just a dead straight 350 shot over the hill. If nothing goes wrong, this should be an easy-ish birdie, but it is kind of easy to mess up and clip these trees. I throw a pure here and it lands a little short. Probably should have gone with a mid-range here.
Oh, that might be good if it comes back. Yeah, that's gonna be nice. That's real good.
Dang, boy.
Dad lays up.
Yep. Yep.
I'll tap for 3, staying at even. Dad taps for 3 at 2 down.
Get in.
And Matt will lay up to stay at 1 down. The next hole is an extremely tight tunnel shot. The basket is up on the hill to the right, and you have to basically land it there to avoid a rollaway. Matt throws a forehand and lands real pretty, right where you want to be. I throw my pure again, and it gets a little bit off the hill, but manageable. And Dad also opts for a forehand and gets that curve back just like you want.
Sit. Sit.
I get a tad bit of rollaway here, but not too. Dad just tries to lay it into the hillside here to kind of let it float down. It works out pretty well. and Matt just does the smart thing and lays up. You don't want to risk a roll away on that hill. So I go in for par, Dad makes his par putt, and Matt taps in. So scores will stay the same. The next hole is a really tight corner. The short basket is a lot easier on this one. Just because we played the longs earlier in the week, and the short is down on the hill, the other one is on top, so that makes this hole a lot simpler.
Oh, nice
A
kick.
great free kick out of the river here.
Wow, what a
Matt
line.
lays up, pretty good shot. And that is the OB line, and Dad is just inside of it, so he played it as inbounds.
Get it.
Run for two, can't get it. But Dad taps in for a three. I'll tap in for a par as well. Matt taps in for a par.
Pars.
So scores are even, 1 down, and 2 down. Hole 6 is pretty
sucky hole.
unforgiving. The first shot is a little tiny gap. You can throw it up there, and then you basically got to go through the trees to get down to the basket.
The high line. Oh.
And I have probably one of my best drives of the round here. I'm able to kind of snake it through the
I can't
trees,
believe
but
that.
also hit the gap. Pretty perfect. Nice little flick shot through the gap there. Instead of doing anything crazy, I'm just going to try
Nice
and lay
shot.
up for a birdie. Matt will try a little skip shot for a par.
Nice
Makes
shot.
the putt. I tap in for a birdie, leaving me at 1 down. Matt will also be at 1 down, and Dad will be at 2 down. Hole 7 is a par 3. You kind of go over this valley and then just straight up the steep hill. Our basket is off to the right.
There it is. Not really.
I land about pin high.
Oh, he's doing the gap.
Dad gets knocked down because
Oh.
he took a slightly more aggressive line and just rolls all the way back.
Nice line.
Get up.
And
Wow,
Matt
perfect.
actually gets about maybe a little lower than pin high, but will have a great shot at it. Dad from his knees gets a good upshot. And I opted for putting for him here. And it rolls away, of course. Dad stays at 2 down.
Hey.
I sink it and stay at 1 down, and Matt taps in for 2 down. Hole 8 is a beautiful shot, like visually. You just get to chuck it off this hill, but you do have to be really safe, because if you cut that corner too hard, you just may not find your disc. A couple rounds earlier here, Matt had a perfect shot at it. We thought it was an ace run. Gets a little high that time, but not bad. I
Turns it
do
down into the
the
middle.
smarter play, but the more boring play. I just threw a putter down, and then I'll just shoot up at it instead of trying something crazy. And Dad opted forehand. So I lay up here. It's a little bit short, but definitely a makeable putt. Matt gets it in a little closer than me. And Dad was giving it, I think, a little bit of a run there, but it just got off.
Matt, you were standing.
Everyone's scores will stay the same. Me and Matt at 1 down, and Dad at 2 down. Hole 9 is a long par 4. Shoot up and over this hill. And try to sit it down. You know, you want to try and be farther than that if you can, but that's an okay shot. Dad's gets a little high on him here, and it doesn't have quite enough flip, so it lays down right with ours. So I tried to go through the trees here. I figured I had a couple shots to work with, and once you're in there, it's not too jailed, so we kind of went for the riskier route just because we had some extra strokes to work with.
And he gets the line through.
You want to do it again?
And so because of that tree hit, Dad's going to have to deal with a 5 while we both putt in pars. So hole 10 is a medium length downhill hole with a bunch of different line options, as you'll see here. I opt for kind of the medium high route, and it gets decently far before it fades out. I mean, it's an easy 3. Matt goes a little more aggressive here,
Please come back.
and if it flattened out a tiny bit more and had a little more float to it, would have been perfect. Instead, he'll be shooting from the trees. Dad goes forehand, and it's stabling up. It just fell out a little bit early.
Worried about turning it over.
Not happy about it. But he makes up for it, lays it right in there.
Really? Not through. Oh,
That's
splashed.
a tough one for par, doesn't go in. I sink my par, and Dad just makes an easy one for par. So Matt will now go to even, and me and Dad stay at 1 under. Hole 11 is kind of from a weird tight alley, and then it opens up, and you just got 3 strokes to chuck it.
Good shot.
I had a pretty good drive here. I got past the trees. I kind of avoided all of the obstructions.
Yeah, is it like a forehand?
And Dad also has a good shot. His went up a little higher than mine, but it ended up stabling up, so it worked out. And Matt was worried about hitting those trees, so he opts just to go over. So he sacrifices some distance, but still ends up in a similar spot.
Turn over.
Then
Get
his
in.
beautiful putter
Sit
shot
right there.
right towards the pin. Skips off the dirt, leaving him about 25, 30 maybe.
Not back.
Dad's forehand stays really stable and then falls right in. I didn't want to do anything nearly as aggressive, so I just kind of land it, hoping to shoot for a par here, knowing there's some more birdie opportunities later on. So I just lay up, sits right next to the basket. Matt also lays up, decides it's not worth it. And Dad sinks for another birdie, leaving him at 2 down. Matt at even.
I wish I knew what your score was.
And I sink par, so I'm at 1
What
down.
do you mean?
It doesn't have hard shots.
Hole 12
Look at
is a
this
par
thing.
4.
You're telling me this isn't an interesting shot?
489 feet. Really hard hole. This is one of the hardest. This first shot is crazy. It's so easy to hit either of the first 2 trees in those first 2 little sets, and it can really mess up the rest of your hole.
Oh.
Forehand is
Baby,
probably
that
the
was
play
a
here.
beauty.
I trust my turnover backhand a little more. Gets a little bit of tree kickage there. And I land it right there. Luckily, not across, but got really close.
Come up short.
Dad lands it right where you need to. I had a horrendous shot here. Compared to these guys, they killed it. And that one is going to land in a good spot.
Oh, shoot.
Dad's is going to land okay. So I'll make my par putt. Matt won't. And Dad hits it, leaving us at Dad at 2 down, me at 1 down, and Matt at +1. Hole 13 is really short compared to most of the holes on this course, but it is straight up and super tight. So it is slightly forgiving in the sense that if you hit a tree, you can bounce back from it. But besides that, it's a tough hole. And I get no love here. I tried to go way too aggressive. I have to start playing more boring golf.
Not down, up.
But even Matt is able to get a better line here. And
Nice out.
I kind of saved myself, still left myself a considerable putt, but not bad.
Ooh, Matt.
Matt, he had given it a chance for par, sinked, stays at 1 over. My long shot, this was about 26, I'd say,
Nice
and I
putt.
hit it, luckily, for a par, and Dad taps in for a par. 14 is one, it feels like a driving range. You just throw it straight down this gigantic hill, but it's really easy to fade it out into those trees, and that's why I decided to actually risk it and kind of go over the OB, because I had just been throwing it in those bushes all
I think
day
that was
on
over
the
the
other
fence
rounds,
and then back.
and so pretty happy with that. Now, if you're wondering why our clothes kind of changed up here, Dad was really not feeling well. It was 98 degrees when we played this course, so he thought that it was smart maybe just to hold off on the back since we had a couple more days there. But Matt had such a beautiful shot here that we decided to let him keep this. So just beautiful flip, just such a nice S-turn. And that shot right there, we couldn't let that go to waste. So from this point forward, this is a day after we played the front 13 holes. So that's just a disclaimer. So this is Dad tapping in Matt for a par. Don't ignore that one. Dad's real shot was the day after, so he shoots here. Second shot. Lands it pretty close. The cage is out. And my birdie putt, banned out. So no love on this hole, but that's alright. We all got out with pars. 15 is one of the more interesting shots on the whole course. It's just this super tight, unforgiving downhill
Nice
shot.
shot.
I mean, it's super short. It's really easy to even overpower, but it's a lot of fun
Find a
because you
hole.
don't see it anywhere else. It's a really interesting hole. Dad gets a beautiful line here.
Good.
That's exactly what you want. It's still a little early. And Matt starts it wide and
Well,
somehow gets
that was
through
a-
and lands down there.
Get it.
And Matt's going to
Nice
have to take a bogey here for +2. I sink
Nice.
the birdie putt. That was one of my best of the whole day. I go to 2 down, and Dad birdies 2 at 3 down. Next hole, the basket is off to the right. I pretty much parked it, so you'll be able to see where mine was. Yeah, this is the best shot I've ever had on this hole, and probably the best shot in a while. That landed right next to the basket.
Okay.
Well, about 15
Nice, yeah.
out, but I count that. Matt grounded it into the hill, but just chucks up, easy par. Dad with a slightly harder shot, but gets it through somewhat. And I can
Nice
make the putt for a
birdie.
birdie, and that sends me to 3 down.
Nice.
Matt sinks his as well, and Dad taps in. Everyone stays at their same score except for me. 17 is probably one of the more birdieable par 4s. The first shot is just straight up this hill, and then you go into the trees on the right. Matt cuts it a tiny bit early, just out of the hand, and ends up in the tree. And Dad here throws it up really high. That's going to be a great setup shot. Matt opts for a forehand roller, and it cuts in and just kind of rolls down the hill. Not what you want. Mine goes
Somehow
off
we
to
got
the
it
right
through.
a little, but it shouldn't be too bad. Dad just falls right in.
Get through.
Matt with a good save. Dad makes a great birdie putt, goes to 3 down,
Oh, top
and
rim.
I cage it for another birdie. I would have been 4 down, but I tap in and stay at 3. Finally, hole 18 is an epic ending. It's an uphill par 5, just throw and hope for a lot of it, but a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Dad does not get that love, bounces off the first tree. I opt for the
Come
outside
Through.
of the very, very first tree.
All right.
It wasn't great, but you see, I'm pretty happy that it even is just in the middle and not in a tree or in the bushes,
That's what we were
because that
trying
can
to
really
do.
mess you up for the rest of the hole. You need a solid first 2 shots to really have any chance of doing well.
That
Perfect. Fade back the middle.
I have a really good shot
How you
there.
going, birdie?
End up partway up the hill.
Oh.
Matt throws an overstable
All right,
katana
take the
there.
hard line.
Probably a smart play. Gets
Keep
through
it
the
even.
gap.
Ooh, he takes the
That one
inside.
cut a little
Ends
bit
up
too
where I am.
inside. And I was feeling spicy. I was having
Roll
a good
back
round,
out.
so I was like, hey, let's just try something here.
Sounded like it came out.
Ready?
Yeah.
And Dad lays up.
There it is. Get in.
Get in! Oh!
Matt bands
Almost.
out from super far away. My birdie putt
Oh,
bands out,
tips
no
the...
love.
You know,
Oh, pulled it.
And Dad's a little off, but everyone just taps in for par here.
End of round.
Matt makes his par putt. Final
Nice round,
scores
boys.
are me and Dad at 3 under and Matt at +1. So final thoughts on this course. Does it deserve to be the best in Virginia? I don't know every course in Virginia, but what I can say is that this course is really, really good. Just really what sets it out over some other great courses like Falling Water in Bedford and other courses in the area that I've played is just the diversity of the shots. I feel like you get so many different interesting shots, and people say this is a really difficult course. Of course, we played a slightly easier layout, but I feel like this is slightly forgiving at times where it should be, and really, really unforgiving in spots where it should be. All in all, I just think it was designed really well, and everything just comes together to make an awesome course. In my opinion, I think that this course definitely could be in the running to be the best in Virginia and really a regional powerhouse. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. It really shows that you guys appreciate what we're doing, and we appreciate that more than you know. We'll see you next time. Muddy Paws Disc Golf.